I am the youngest of three boys from the East Coast, come from a middle upper class family. My oldest brother, really smart. My next oldest brother, the middle brother, was smart and really athletic, and then the mess that was left over at the end became me. Like, all the talents were used up in everybody else in the family. While I was fairly athletic and fairly smart, I wasn't as smart or as athletic as either of my brothers. But I always had a lot of energy and was never that good at school. My hand didn't move fast enough to get my thoughts down, so I was always missing words on the paper when I was trying to write something out. So my parents told me I was taking a new allergy medication, and a year after they told me that, I will never forget this, they sat me down to tell me that I'd been on Ritalin for a year, and what Ritalin was gonna do was help me to be able to learn like the other kids. But the way I heard them tell me that was that you need to take a drug just to get you to be as good as the other kids, because you are not as good. There's something broken in you. Then in fifth grade, I recall, this stuff is so vivid in my head. I remember telling a group of the kids that I thought were the cool kids in school at the time. I remember telling them a joke, and they thought it was so funny. And they took me around to all the other kids and had me tell this joke. And there was a feeling of excitement and belonging and acceptance. I knew the difference of being laughed at and being laughed with, and I didn't care. Just as long as there was laughter, I felt accepted by everyone. I don't like me, but if I can get you to like me, then that must mean that I'm likable. And that was all that mattered to me. Whenever there was any tension about anything, I couldn't deal with that tension, and so I would crack a joke, or I would make fun of something that was going on. At least for that moment, I could pretend that everything was okay. Even though I knew deep down it wasn't, but all that mattered to me was the moment. Feeling this way all the way up till 13, 14, it's no surprise looking back on it that when I started smoking pot, it was like I had arrived. I finally felt okay with me. Obviously, it was because of the chemicals, but those chemicals got harder and harder, from the pot to the ecstasy to the cocaine, till I finally found heroin and shot heroin for the next 10 years of my life. I don't know how to react or respond when I have those feelings of guilt, shame, anger, fear. I don't know what to do with those things, so I put on the mask and I pretend that they don't exist. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, I got sober and I became a counselor, and I had the car, I had the job, I had the career, I had the girl, I had the bank account, I had it all going on the outside, and I was dying on the inside. And so I found it very necessary to turn back to the one thing that I knew would bring me comfort, and I relapsed back onto heroin. And so when I got sober the last time, 6 months went really well. I was doing the AA thing, working the steps, doing what I had done before, and they were producing sobriety, which is all I signed up for. That's all I came to do. And somewhere around 6 months, the thought to use came back, and it scared me because I've been in this situation before. And I went to someone I trusted, and they said, Tommy has a Bible study that he does in his garage, a men's Bible study, just a little intimate gathering in his garage on Wednesdays. Maybe you should go check it out. And I thought at the time Jesus was magic and that God essentially was an imaginary friend for grown-ups. But I was scared, and I had had enough pain that I was willing to go to any lengths to not move backwards again. And I went into Tommy's garage, and it was difficult, but it inspired in my heart a sense of wholeness that I'd never had. And just to the point where I went back, and then I went back, and I went back, and all of a sudden this is what I did on Wednesday night. On Wednesday night I go to a Bible study. I mean, nobody thought that was crazier than me. And walking the path that was set out by getting into the Word and by coming to church, I started coming to church. I could tell you about all the awesome things that I have going on in my life. I could tell you about all the awesome stuff that I have. I could tell you about all the blessings, but they pale in comparison to how I feel about me and my relationship with God. I mean, I'm connected, and I have a sense of joy that's just, it's in my heart as a result of walking this path. If I can come from where I came from, then there is hope for anybody.